CHEN'S, reborn for revenge. 3 centuries ago, betrayal shattered CHEN'S. Cast into the void, his spirit refused to die. Reborn with icy resolve, a burning fire ignites his veins. His mother humiliated, enemies everywhere, witness every secret, every spark of power unleashed. From Death's Cliffs to DINGWU Palace, the little beast awakens. Join CHEN'S epic quest for justice, experience his unstoppable rise, and claim your own power. Welcome to episodes 1 through 5. The full saga begins now. The year 2216 of the Wuxian calendar. Wuyu, the highest place in the land of Tianwu. The black wind roared wildly, and the sky was torn open with huge wounds. It was ferocious and terrifying. It filled the black void cracks like an indefatigable wild beast devouring everything it could swallow. This is one of the 7 forbidden areas in Tianwu continent, located in the Death Valley of the Wu region. In the Valley of Death, the terrible void storm rages all year round and never stops. It has devoured thousands of strong people's lives for tens of thousands of years. It is like a meat grinder, strangling all the lives that enter it. Few dare to enter here, even the most confident warriors. The vast void storm alone is enough to shred a 9-day emperor into pieces. Yet this storm was nothing compared to the betrayal that awaited CHEN'S. Why, XIANXIA, Feng SHAOYU, why did you betray me? CHEN'S, injured and bleeding, stood on the cliff before the Valley of Death. His eyes burned with endless resentment and anger. His heart was a knife twisting inside him. CHEN'S is a legend of Tianwu continent, the 9th grade pharmacist, 8th rank blood vessel master, and 8th rank Emperor Wu Emperor. He had been an orphan since childhood, born without pulse and unable to practice. Yet he broke through these shackles. Starting from a blood master, he defied heaven itself, climbing to the top of the world with sheer will. By 26, he alone passed through Tianzhen Mountain's 99819-step array, becoming the only master in thousands of years to do so. By 28, he became a 9-grade Imperial Medicine Refining Master and an honorary elder of the Pharmacist Hall. By 30, he was famous across the mainland, one of the top 10 blood vessel masters, the highest legend of all Tianwu. He had a beauty named XI'ER, a fairy among mortals. For 10 years, CHEN'S devoted his life to her cultivation, achieving greatness together. He also had a brother, Feng SHAOYU, whom he trusted implicitly. Together, they helped build the famed Xuanyuan Empire, a shining pinnacle of power in the mainland. But the higher one climbs, the further the fall. Betrayal often waits in the shadows. One night, as CHEN'S slept, XI'ER and FENG SHAOYU attacked him. CHEN'S, caught off guard and gravely injured, fought for 3 days and nights, fleeing through the endless cliffs and canyons. But even as his meridians shattered and danger clawed at him, he could not understand why the 2 closest to him had joined hands against him. Why? He roared, desperation shaking him to his core. XI'ER smiled cruelly, holding Feng SHAOYU's arm. His hands rested possessively on her waist, sealing the cruelest betrayal CHEN'S had ever faced. CHEN'S eyes widened, his face pale with shock. He fell, injured, as he hissed, "You too," unexpectedly. XI'ER sneered, her once gentle features twisted with arrogance. "Before I knew you, I had already loved SHAOYU. Being with you, that was only for our benefit," she said coldly. CHEN'S could barely recognize the woman he once trusted. "Do you think I ever loved you?" "Ha! Wrong," XI'ER continued, bitterness dripping from every word. "Every moment we spent together, it was all part of the plan. 10 years, wasted." He felt as if 1,000 arrows pierced his heart. The gentle, virtuous XI'ER he once knew had vanished. This betrayal was more painful than death itself. His mind raced with questions. Why had they betrayed him so completely? And what terrible schemes were they plotting next? Chen's fists clenched, his eyes glinting with icy determination. Feng Xiaoyu's face was a mask of treachery, a cruel smile spreading as he whispered, "With your help, we rise. You fail, and everything you own will be ours, including her." XI'ER laughed, arrogance and indifference in her voice as she allowed his hand to touch her. The man and woman before him, whom he had trusted like family, were monsters in disguise. Chen's hands tightened around the air, his chest rising and falling with rage. "All these years, all these lies, you devoured my life while I was blind." Tears ran down his face as he stood, hatred blazing in his icy eyes. "No sorrow is greater than this. I will make you pay if I get the chance." Even as he spoke, he sensed a force behind the void crack that seemed to pull at him, as if destiny itself was about to intervene. The void crack roared like a living beast. Chen looked at the pair before him one last time, his sneer bitter, his voice cold. "Next life, everything you've taken will be mine." Wind tore through the broken sky, and before XI'ER and Feng Xiaoyu could react, Chen leapt into the endless void crack. His form disappeared into the darkness, leaving only a haunting silence behind. A wind howled across the cliff. His enemies' cries of shock echoed long after, mixing with the emptiness of the land. But the story was far from over. Somewhere in the void, a spark of power stirred, hinting at a return that no one could predict. Tianwu Land, state of Qi, DINGWU Palace, his hatred burned brighter than ever. XI'ER, Feng Xiaoyu, I hate you. And even as the wind died down, the echoes of betrayal promised that Chen's next move would shake the heavens themselves. A young man suddenly wakes up from the gilded bed and sits up indignantly. His eyes are wide like cold stars, bursting with an unforgettable light of hatred, dripping with cold sweat. On the bed, he clenched his hands tightly, letting his nails dig into his palms, but he didn't feel the pain. Something was wrong, very wrong. For a long moment, he stared at the antique bed and the eaves in front of him, speechless. Wasn't he dead? A strong pain suddenly erupted in Chen's mind, making him roar with agony. And with the pain came a brand new memory, something he had never lived before. "I'm reborn?" he gasped, the words barely leaving his lips. Immediately, Chen opened his eyes and understood what had happened. Even as the top power in the mainland, the truth shocked him to the core. Something beyond comprehension has happened. In memory. Now, it is the year 2516 of the Wuxian calendar. 300 years have passed since he fell in his previous life. 3 centuries witnessed great change. Once, the Xuanyuan Empire, under Feng Xiaoyu's development, had risen to become the first imperial dynasty of the mainland, renowned across the world. The former SHANGGUAN, however, established the Misty Palace and began to be called Lingbo Empress, enjoying the admiration of hundreds of millions. With the magic medicine left by Chen, they had become supreme existences. Wherever they stepped, the entire continent trembled 3 times. Chen, however, was reborn in a remote corner of the mainland. "God has let me live again. XI'ER and Feng Xiaoyu, you wait. I, Chen, am back, and your nightmare is coming. One day, I will personally tread the martial arena and reclaim everything." Chen clenched his fist and swore to heaven in the humble, simple room. His strong intention of killing swirled like an invisible whirlwind, filling the room with a presence so heavy it seemed to bend the air itself. Suddenly, the door opened. A beautiful woman in a clean robe, her hair pinned neatly, entered the room anxiously. Seeing Chen awake on the bed, her worried eyes instantly brightened with joy. "Great, CHI'ER, you're awake at last. Your mother has been so worried." Tears welled on her long eyelashes as she hugged Chen, crying with a mixture of relief and joy. The warmth of her embrace reached him, stirring something he hadn't felt in years. Hatred still burned in his heart, but a flicker of warmth rose amidst the storm of his emotions. A woman was YUECHI, daughter of King YUECHI, and the mother of Chen. Her presence carried both authority and care, and Chen instinctively sensed the depth of her love and concern. The original owner of this body had also been named Qin Chen. He had been in a fierce duel at Tianxing College of Wangdu, fallen from the fighting platform, struck his head and remained in a coma for 3 days and nights. But now, the body he occupied was more than just a vessel. The soul of Qin Chen from 300 years ago had intertwined with this body, giving birth to a second chance at life. "CHE'ER, you've been in a coma for 3 days and nights. You've scared your mother to death. In the future, your mother won't allow you to act so rashly. Do you hear me? If you're not here, how can your mother live alone?" The beautiful woman stroked Chen's thin cheek, her eyes filled with deep concern. Looking at her, Chen felt a wave of emotions he had never experienced before. In his previous life, he had been an orphan, alone in the world. Now, fate had granted him a mother, a warmth he had never known. In the original memory of this body, King YUECHI had been kind and meticulous, a mother who cared deeply. The bond between mother and son had been strong and harmonious. And now, fused with her son's soul, Qin Chen felt that connection even more vividly. Seeing the woman who worried for him crying before his eyes, Chen's chest tightened with an unfamiliar joy. He blurted out, "Mother, the child will never be rash again, so you won't have to worry." As he spoke, it felt as if a heavy stone had been lifted from his heart. The lingering bonds of the past, the half-formed consciousness of the original body, dissipated completely. From this moment onward, Chen alone held the reins of his destiny. Yet even in this serene moment, a shadow lingered in the back of his mind. Somewhere beyond this room, the world had already begun to shift. Old enemies, hidden plots, and dangers untold were stirring, waiting for the moment he stepped into the light. And Chen knew, deep down, that this second life was only the beginning of a path filled with trials, vengeance, and power beyond imagination. YUECHI's eyes softened, filled with nothing but her son. "That's good." Her voice was gentle, almost fragile. "CHE'ER, tell your mother, how did you come to duel with the Duke of YUECHI's heir? Was it deliberate? Did someone frame you?" Her brows knitted in worry. Chen lowered his head. "No, it was I who challenged him." But his eyes turned sharp, cold as steel. The truth, Wei Zhen had spat venom at him in the college, calling him a beast without a father, mocking his mother as a cheap woman. Rage had drowned out reason, and Qin Chen had stepped onto the stage. Yet the moment the duel began, poison spread through his body. This was no coincidence. It was a trap. He could never tell his mother this. With her nature, she would march straight to the Wei household, no matter the cost. And right now, their lives in the Qin family were already hanging by a thread. His gaze drifted over her, his mother, Qin YUECHI. Once, she had been the jewel of the state of Qi, famed as its first beauty. Princes and nobles tripped over themselves to win her hand. Even the current sovereign had considered taking her into the palace as an imperial concubine. But then she vanished. She left it all behind. 3 years later, she returned carrying an infant, Chen. The scandal rocked the capital. To bear a child without a husband was shame enough to drown a family in disgrace. In other corners of the Tianwu continent, such women were drowned in pig cages. The Qin family had raged, ready to strike her down on the spot. Only Qin Batian, King DINGWU, her father, Qin Chen's grandfather, stood against them. By invoking bloodline, he sheltered mother and child under the palace roof. But shelter was not kindness. Within DINGWU Palace, King YUECHI and King Chen lived as outcasts, endured sneers and scorn, branded as stains upon the family's honor. And so, even now, after Qin Chen lay unconscious 3 days and nights, no physician had been sent to see him. "CHEN'Er," King YUECHI whispered, striking his frail cheek. "Though you failed to awaken your bloodline this time, it doesn't matter. Don't fight on impulse again. Even if you can't be a strong man, Mother will always protect you." Her words trembled, her heart sour with grief. Dust Sun's nature was strong, too strong. If he could not overcome this burden, he would suffer again. No awakening blood? In an instant, King Chen absorbed the memories of this body. He understood. This body's talent had been good, enough to gain entry to Tianxing College, the foremost academy of Qi State, but in all its blood awakening ceremonies, he had failed, again and again. Without awakened blood, one could never step into true strength. The boy had been shattered by the truth. Once proud and burning with ambition, he collapsed into despair. Perhaps that despair had pushed him into Wei Zhen's trap. Qin YUECHI looked at him with sorrow. She thought she knew the cause. But Qin Chen only smiled softly, warmth flashing in his eyes. "Mother, don't worry. Such a setback cannot bring me down." For an 8th rank bloodline master reborn, failure to awaken meant nothing. That smile lit his face like sunlight, and Qin YUECHI's heart eased. She let out a relieved breath. So Mother is at peace. She was just about to speak further. Bang! Bang! A vicious pounding shook the door, heavy, impatient, almost like a boot against the wood. Qin YUECHI, startled and hurried to open it. A maid in a silver rat fur coat swept inside. "Miss, why so long to open the door?" she snapped. Her lips said eldest lady, but her tone dripped with scorn. Respect was nowhere in her eyes. "Rouge, CHEN'ER has only just woken. His body is still weak. Keep your voice down. Don't disturb him." Rouge's gaze slid to Qin Chen, lying on the bed. For a moment, her eyes widened in surprise, then curled into a sneer. "Oh, so young Master Chen has woken. Congratulations." Her words were polite, but her voice was colder than frost. Her stare was sharp, filled not with joy, but contempt. This maid, Rouge, was no ordinary servant. She belonged to Madame Zhao, Qin Chen's great-aunt. The Qin clan had been loyal warriors for generations, drenched in glory and blood. Qin Batian himself had reached the pinnacle, named King DINGWU by the sovereign, granted a palace and a title. His son, Qin Yuanhong, inherited both the palace and the marquisate of Anping. And his wife, Madame Zhao, became mistress of DINGWU Palace. But from the first day, Madame Zhao had despised Qin YUECHI and Qin Chen. To her, they were stains, disgraces, dragging down the family name. She had schemed tirelessly to cast them out. Rouge, her favored maid, carried that venom proudly. Qin Chen's eyes narrowed, his voice cold as he broke the silence. "What are you doing here?" Rouge blinked, startled at his tone. In the past, Qin Chen had always lowered his head before her sharp tongue. But now, there was steel in his voice. "Master Chen, don't flatter yourself," she said, regaining her sneer. "I'm not here for you." Rouge's eyes flickered with surprise. In the past, Qin Chen had never dared raise his voice at her. But now, he stared at her with the authority of someone reborn. "Miss," Rouge sneered, regaining her arrogance, "my lady guessed you'd be here with young Master Chen. As expected. Don't forget the agreement you made." At once, Qin Yuechi's body trembled. A shadow of humiliation swept across her face, draining her of color. She tucked the quilt carefully over Qin Chen and forced a calm smile. "CHEN'ER, rest well. Mother will step out for a while. Don't worry yourself." She turned to leave. But Qin Chen's sharp gaze caught the faint shake in her shoulders. His heart twisted. "Mother, where are you going? I'll come with you." Qin Yuechi stopped. She turned, cupping his face gently in her hands, her smile warm yet sorrowful. "Silly child, this is your home. Who here would dare bully your mother? Just rest. Don't catch cold. I'll be back soon." Qin Chen frowned, his voice deep. "No. Tell me, what agreement did you make with Madame Zhao?" Qin Yuechi faltered, hesitation flashing in her eyes. Her lips parted, but no words came. Rouge rolled her eyes impatiently. "Why bother hiding it? Young Master Chen, your mother promised to meet Lord Zhao Qi today. He's already in the reception hall waiting." "What?" Qin Chen's fury erupted. His voice cracked like thunder. "Zhao Qi? Zhao Feng, that viper, actually dares to force my mother to meet that beast?" Everyone knew Zhao Qi, the most debauched lord in Qi State. His mansions overflowed with concubines, singers, dancers. He wallowed in wine and flesh, notorious as the romantic marquise. For years, he had set his eyes on Qin Yuechi, his lust barely veiled. And now, Madame Zhao had dragged him straight to their door. Qin Chen's eyes blazed, two cold flames cutting through the room. He glared at Rouge, his voice like ice. "And you, get out." Rouge flinched, startled by the killing intent in his gaze. For a moment, fear froze her tongue. Then she turned her anger toward Qin Yuechi. "Miss, is this how you raise your son? Do you mean to go back on your word? Everyone knows you agreed." Qin Chen whipped his head around. "Mother, you agreed to this?" His heart trembled violently. In his memories, she had always refused Zhao Qi, despised his pursuit. How could she yield now? But Qin Yuechi's body shook again. Her lips quivered. After a long silence, she whispered, "CHEN'ER, you've just woken. Don't overthink it. It's only a meeting. Nothing will happen." Qin Chen's chest tightened, his voice breaking. "Mother, why? Don't you know walking into Zhao Qi's presence is like throwing yourself to a wolf?" Rouge scoffed, her words sharp as knives. "Why? Because you, useless boy, brought this upon her. You fought Wei Zhen, nearly lost your life, and fell unconscious. It was your mother who knelt outside Our Lady's doors all night, begging for a recovery pill. Out of mercy, Madame Zhao granted it. Without it, you'd already be a corpse. And now you dare ask why?" "Enough!" Qin Yuechi's voice cut like a whip. Her beautiful eyes burned with anger as she turned on Rouge. "Madame Zhao swore this matter would never be spoken of. How dare you betray her word?" Qin Chen's chest ached. He finally understood his mother had swallowed her pride, bowed her head, and even bartered her dignity, all for a single recovery pill. A second-grade pill, a mere trinket worth only a few thousand silver coins. Yet, to save him, she had endured humiliation. Tears stung his eyes. He rose unsteadily, his hand gripping hers with desperate strength. "Mother, no more. From today on, I won't let you suffer another moment. You'll never set foot before Zhao Qi again, not while I still draw breath." Qin Yuechi's body trembled, her tear-filled eyes locked on her son, shimmering with both sorrow and hope. Qin Chen turned, his killing intent spilling into the air like a blade unsheathed, his glare fixed on Rouge, cold and merciless. "As for you," he spat, his voice as sharp as steel, "get out." "Son of a witch! You dare yell at me?" Rouge's face flushed with rage, her body trembling as fury consumed her. The insult slipped out, "Little bastard." In the palace, many whispered that behind Qin Chen's back, but never, never to his face. After all, Queen YUECHI was the daughter of King DINGWU, the eldest miss of the Qin family. Yet in her anger, Rouge no longer cared. She jabbed her finger at Qin Chen, her lips curling into a cruel sneer. "We call you young Master Chen, and you actually believe it? You're nothing but a bastard. I spit on you." Qin YUECHI's face turned iron blue. Her eyes blazed with fury as she snapped, "Rouge, watch your tongue. Duster is your young master. Remember your place. You're just a servant." Rouge gave a cold laugh, arrogance dripping from every word. "Miss, don't be so hasty. Madam already predicted you'd try to break your word. That's why she made her arrangements." She clapped her hands. "Come, escort the eldest lady to the living room. Don't let Madam and her guest wait any longer." Bang! The door slammed open. Two Qin family guards stepped inside, their boots thudding against the floor. "Miss, please come with us," one said coldly. Their eyes swept over Qin YUECHI's delicate figure, and in those eyes, greed. Though hardship had dimmed her wealth, it had only sharpened her beauty, giving her a grace both pure and untouchable. Every man in the Qin family whispered about her in secret, their thoughts far from honorable. And now, with her reputation under Zhao Qi's shadow, would a little stolen touch even matter? They reached forward. "But I dare you to lay a finger on my mother." Qin Chen's voice roared like thunder. Shing! The blade left its sheath with a metallic cry. In a flash, Qin Chen stepped in front of Qin YUECHI, sword angled across his chest, his icy gaze stabbed into the guards like twin blades. An aura surged from him, unexplainable, suffocating. The guards froze. For an instant, it felt as though death itself loomed before them, a scythe pressed against their necks. A chill raced up their spines, their skin erupting in goosebumps. Their hands stalled midair. What is this?" They exchanged uneasy glances. Disbelief etched across their faces. Qin Chen's body was the same, his wounds still fresh, yet his presence was terrifying. It was as if ignoring him would bring nightmares that never ended. Uncertain, they looked to Rouge. "You cowards!" she spat, stamping her foot. "Scared of a useless bastard? Don't forget who rules this household. If you fail Madam's order, can you bear the punishment?" Shame burned the guards' faces. Afraid of Qin Chen? Impossible. He was nothing, timid, fragile, the boy who couldn't even kill a chicken. If word spread that they'd been cowed by him, they'd never show their faces in the Qin family again. The guards snorted coldly, stepping forward with stiff pride. "Master Chen, mind yourself. We act under Madame Zhao's orders. If you dare to resist, don't blame us for being impolite." But Qin Chen didn't flinch. His sword gleamed coldly before him, his figure rooted like an unmovable mountain. "If you don't want to die," his voice rolled out like thunder from the depths of hell, "then touch my mother and see what happens." The two guards froze again, their feet refusing to obey them. Qin Chen's gaze then cut toward Rouge, sharp as a blade, his voice lashed like a whip. "And you, filthy dog who bullies the weak, daring to insult my mother, believe it or not, I'll have you exiled 3,000 li away. You'll rot in a brothel for the rest of your miserable life." Rouge's expression stiffened, her arrogance faltered. If matters truly spiraled out of control, perhaps Madame Zhao could protect herself. But lowly servants and guards? They'd be discarded like trash. But just then... "Oh, and who exactly is exiling whom?" A shrill, mocking voice sliced through the air, followed by the measured sound of footsteps approaching. Servants in embroidered robes marched in first, forming two rigid lines along the walls. Then, at the center, entered a middle-aged woman dressed in lavish palace attire. Her cloud-patterned robe shimmered with gold thread. Her hairpin glittered with coral, jade, and red agate. Her fingers dripped with jeweled rings. Her every step radiated arrogance. At her side waddled a man with a bloated figure and narrow, greedy eyes. Though clad in rich garments, his lecherous stare betrayed his filth. The moment he entered, his gaze locked hungrily onto Chin YUECHI, his lips twitching with lust as if he could already taste her. "Madam." Rouge's voice cracked as her earlier arrogance collapsed into fear. She paled instantly, bowing low until her forehead nearly touched the ground. For this was none other than Madame Zhao, mistress of DINGWU Palace, and at her side the infamous libertine Zhao Qi, the debauched prince of Qi. Madame Zhao's eyes cut to Rouge, her tone colder than frost. "Useless trash. I give you a simple task, and you manage to turn it into a circus. How did I ever tolerate such incompetence?" Rouge trembled violently, scrambling to kneel. "This servant is at fault, madam. Please punish me." "Step aside," Madame Zhao snapped. "Your incompetence shames even my ears." "Yes, madam." Rouge slunk back to the side, her heart burning with resentment. She dared not show it, but inside she sneered. "Humph, little beast. Let's see how long your arrogance lasts now that Madame has arrived." Madame Zhao finally turned her gaze upon Qin Chen. He stood with sword in hand, shielding Chin YUECHI like a cornered wolf cub baring its fangs. Her lips curved in a cold smile. "Well, well, my dear nephew wakes from his little coma, and suddenly he's bold enough to threaten lives and exile my servants. Ha! One would almost mistake you for the rightful heir of the Qin family." Her voice dripped with scorn, each word meant to strip away Qin Chen's dignity. Qin YUECHI's face turned pale. She quickly said, "Madame Zhao, CHEN'ER is still young. He only spoke out of anger. Please, don't take it seriously." But Madame Zhao's eyes were cold and sharp. "Young, if I remember correctly, Qin Chen is already 16. He failed the awakening ceremony again, and instead of working hard, he caused fights in the academy. That has brought shame to the Qin family. And now he dares to speak rudely to his elders? What punishment does that deserve?" Qin YUECHI froze, her heart filled with worry. But Qin Chen suddenly raised his head, his gaze calm yet piercing. "What about you, Madame Zhao? You allow servants to insult members of the Qin family? Is that the so-called family rule?" "You!" Madame Zhao's face darkened. She hadn't expected him to fight back with words. Qin Chen's voice grew colder. "And more than that, as the lady of this household, you meet in private with Zhao Qi, who is known all over the capital for his bad reputation. Is that what you call virtue?" The room fell silent. Zhao Qi, who had been smirking, instantly turned red with anger. His eyes, full of desire, flickered with embarrassment. "You little brat!" Madame Zhao trembled with fury. "How dare you speak such nonsense? Guards, take him down!" The two guards rushed forward, one on each side. "Don't you dare touch my son!" Qin YUECHI cried, trying to block their path. But before they could reach her, Qin Chen's figure flashed. The guards froze in shock. A sword was already in his hands, its cold edge gleaming. His eyes shone with a terrifying light, as if he was no longer the weak boy they remembered. One step forward, a single strike. In an instant, the guards staggered back, fear filling their hearts. They realized this young man, who once seemed powerless, now carried an aura so sharp it felt like facing death itself. The room fell into silence, broken only by Madame Zhao's trembling voice. You dare raise your hand inside the Qin family mansion?" Qin Chen stood tall, sword in hand, protecting his mother. His voice was steady, every word filled with icy determination. "Whoever dares to touch my mother will pay the price." Qin Chen's voice was steady, every word like thunder in the silent room. He stood with his sword in hand, cold and unshakable, as if a shadow of death itself had appeared. The room froze. Servants who had been peeking from outside held their breath, fear written all over their faces. Rouge, who had mocked YUECHI earlier, trembled uncontrollably. Even the guards felt their bodies stiffen, sweat running down their foreheads. They had thought Qin Chen was nothing but a powerless boy, but now the air around him carried a pressure none of them could deny. But this was only the beginning of his awakening. In the Tianwu continent, strength was everything. Warriors were divided into stages, from pulse condensation to human level, then beyond. Even reaching the human level was considered stepping into the path of a true warrior. These guards were trained fighters, each one confident in his skills, yet one had already fallen in front of this boy. How could a fallen young master possess such terrifying power? Madame Zhao was the first to break free from shock. Rage twisted her face as she shouted, "Qin Chen, you dare act violently inside the Qin family mansion? Guards, seize him immediately and punish him according to family rules." Her voice rang like thunder, shaking the servants around her. But little did she know, her order would unleash something even more shocking. One of the remaining guards gritted his teeth and finally moved. He drew his sword in a flash, his eyes sharp like a hunting wolf. His body lunged forward like a cheetah, his blade slicing through the air with deadly precision. This was the Qin family's famous technique, flying dragon swordplay. Among its forms, the one he unleashed now was the most feared, poisonous dragon spits mist. The blade shimmered with dangerous light, as if a venomous dragon were striking out of the shadows. His intent was clear. He didn't plan to kill Qin Chen outright, but to cripple him, to prove that the boy's defiance would never be tolerated. Yet, at this very moment, Qin Chen revealed the true edge of his destiny. Everyone's eyes followed the guard's blade. The move was sharp, fast, and full of power. It was clear he was using a real martial technique. Some even imagined Qin Chen about to be injured, but the moment steel clashed. Clang, clang, clang. Qin Chen's sword flashed 3 times in a blur of cold light. Sparks flew as steel met steel. The guard's hand shook, his grip nearly slipping. Even when he poured his strength into the strike, he couldn't hold steady. Then, before he knew what had happened, Qin Chen's sword was already at his throat. The icy blade pressed against his skin like the scythe of death, freezing him in place. His whole body stiffened, too afraid to move. The crowd gasped. If the first victory could be blamed on surprise, this one could not. The guard had used his full strength, yet Qin Chen, only at the early stage of cultivation, still forced him down. Even Madame Zhao was secretly shocked, though she kept her tone cold. "Qin Chen, you're bold indeed. Drop your sword." Qin sneered. "Drop it? He tried to take my life. Should I just forgive him?" With a swift motion, Qin Chen struck. The guard collapsed to the ground, defeated completely. Qin Chen turned, his gaze locking onto Zhao Qi'er. His voice was low and icy. "And you? If you dare to lay a hand on my mother, I swear I'll end you where you stand." Zhao Qi'er froze. His face flushed with anger, but a chill ran through his body. Words stuck in his throat. Qin Chen's gaze was sharp as ice. "Madame Zhao, is this what you call negotiation?" he said coldly. Mrs. Zhao forced a smile toward Zhao Qi'er. "Lord Qi, please don't misunderstand. I'll explain everything," she said quickly. But then her face twisted with rage. She pointed at Qin Chen, her hairpin shaking from anger. "You little brat! You even dare to threaten Lord Qi? Very well." Her eyes swept the room like a snake searching for prey. The servants outside shrank back, not daring to make a sound. Finally, Her glare landed on an older man standing behind her. "Qin Young," she barked. "What are you waiting for? Take this boy down." "Yes, madam." The old man stepped forward, calm and steady. His robe was dark blue, his hands folded behind his back, and his eyes carried a dangerous chill. Everyone's faces changed as soon as they saw him. Even Qin Chen's expression grew solemn. "This man is a prefecture-level master." The air grew heavy. "Master Chen," Qin Yong said coldly, "don't resist. Follow madam's orders. I'd rather not hurt you." Qin Chen narrowed his eyes and gave a thin smile. "If you want to arrest me, then show me you have the strength." Qin Yong frowned. "Then don't blame me." He suddenly leapt forward like an eagle. A strong gust of wind swept through the hall, making the floor tremble. His hands turned into claws, reaching straight for Qin Chen with crushing force. "Qin Yang, dare you touch my son?" Qin YUECHI cried out, rushing forward in fear. But Qin Chen moved first. He pulled his mother behind him, sword raised, eyes burning with determination. Just as the claws were about to strike. "Stop, all of you!" A thunderous voice shook the hall. Everyone froze. Qin Yang halted his attack just inches from Qin Chen's head, then quickly stepped back, bowing. A man in a noble robe, boots shining with silver, and a belt embroidered with a python, walked in with the presence of a roaring tiger. "Marquis," the crowd bowed in unison. It was Qin Yuanhong, Qin Chen's uncle. Mrs. Zhao rushed to his side, her voice shrill with anger. "My lord, you came just in time. This boy has gone against all rules. He killed 2 guards and even threatened Lord Qi. If we don't punish him today, he'll climb on our heads." "Enough!" Qin Yuanhong's voice boomed like thunder. His face was dark, his anger unmistakable. "Do you still want to cause more chaos here?" Mrs. Zhao froze, stunned. "But my lord, it's not me who's making trouble. It's this beast." "Shut your mouth," Qin Yuanhong roared, cutting her off. "How dare you? He is your nephew. If he's a beast, then what does that make the rest of our Qin family?" Mrs. Zhao's face turned red with humiliation. She trembled, wanting to argue, but under Qin Yuanhong's furious gaze, she dared not say another word. The servants, terrified, dropped to their knees. Not a sound could be heard in the hall.